Thanks so much, Carl. And Jason Kyler, thank you so much for joining us today on the heels of that AT&T report. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Julia.
So, Jason, I want to get to the streaming numbers, but I want to start off first with the fact that this deal is now set to close in the second quarter. So my question to you is, how soon could we see the WarnerMedia and Discovery streaming assets combined, and what is this combination going to mean for you as an executive?
So that's what we call a leading question here in the industry, Julia, as you know. It's too early to answer either of those questions, candidly, in terms of what a service could look like or services could look like post-close. But clearly, when you look at the results of HBO Max, which I'm hoping we get into, I think the facts speak for themselves, which is HBO Max is a leading streamer, and clearly 2021 was a big year for it.
Yes, and you added a better than expected 4.3 million subscribers in the fourth quarter. But what's interesting is we're just coming off of Netflix's results, and they added twice as many subscribers in their fourth quarter, but it was their guidance of much lower than expected numbers for Q1 that sent both Netflix shares lower and a number of other streamers as well. What are you seeing for the first quarter and for this year? Do you think you'll be able to maintain your momentum?
Great question. I think what's most important is a little bit of context first, which is Netflix is in 190 countries. We're in 46 countries. HBO Max is in 46 countries. In the U.S. market, where we were live for the entirety of 2021, we grew much faster than Netflix. And so to your question of how do I feel about HBO Max and our growth and into 2022, I feel very good. And I say that most importantly because of the stories that you're going to see from us in 2022. I feel great in terms of the product and the technology that we've been building. And then finally, we have a whole lot of geographic expansion that's coming in 2022 as well. And those things are unique to us.
Yeah, certainly opportunity as you expand more internationally, but a question about the content spend that's necessary to sustain that kind of growth. You mentioned on the call that 2022 is going to be a peak spending year, but don't you have to keep on investing more and more, not just to help add new subscribers, but to really compete as the likes of Netflix and Disney Plus also ramp up their spending?
Yeah, so when it comes to investments, there's obviously references to bottom line impact. But when you think about the next 10, 20 years in streaming, I do believe, Julia, you're going to see a very small list of services. And of course, I believe HBO Max is going to be one of them that will continue to grow. And as it grows, the investment levels in the content will grow as well. That's separate from the bottom line impact. And so when it comes to your earlier question about how we feel about our investment in HBO Max stories, there's no better team in the industry at translating investment dollars to stories that matter. And I say that based on third-party data points, whether it's critical nominations, critical awards, audience scores, et cetera. HBO Max is absolutely leading the field compared to Netflix and to Disney Plus when it comes to the reception of our slate.
Hey, Jason, it's Deirdre. Good morning. Another guest, I think it was last week, brought up this idea of content decay, that streaming hits like Squid Games and others, they're just so short-lived because there's so much content now. How are you thinking about the lasting impact of your hit series? I think about like a Succession that you can go back to in terms of podcasts and the sort of universe that surrounds them and the characters, or whether that be gaming. How do you extend the lifetime of series?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to one simple word, which is quality. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Deidre, in terms of there are certain series that do have a rapid decay. Our approach, and this really goes back 50 years in terms of the birth of HBO, has been very much a focus on quality. And you mentioned Succession. I think that's a fantastic example of a series that has grown in relevance over time, not reduced in relevance over time. So with each successive season, we're seeing a lift on the first season, the second season, and obviously the just completed third season. So it really comes down to the choices you make when no one's looking in terms of the stories you choose to tell and how ambitious you are in terms of the quality bar, in terms of how you tell them. And I feel very good about that for us.